Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And it's an honor and a privilege to have David Grissom with us. He's David was on the show maybe a year and a half ago, and his interview has been one of the most popular, highest recorded interviews in Everyone Loves Guitar history. And he's an awesome, just as a human being, forget about being a just off the charts player. He's a really great guy. I've been really fortunate to spend some time with him, and he's like a quality human being. He's a real deal as a person. And I think when you listen to his music, that comes out like that. Couple of quick announcements. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe so you can subscribe to the show. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe box and ring the bell. All righty. In case you don't know David, or somehow you've been living in a shell, which you probably have as coronavirus. We've all been living in a shell, but for a long time. Quick info is on his background. Brilliant guitar player out of Austin, Texas. Like I said, he was on here a while back. And I'm going to include, if you're listening to the audio, actually, I'll include the original show with David at the end of this. So don't after this interview, you get to hear that. It's a great episode. Anyway, he just released his first live album. It's called Trio Live. It's a great record. The songs are really cool. The mix is phenomenal. And as always, David's tone is killer. And it really, you know what? I've read this and I never really was sure what that meant. If I read reviews, it says really captures the warmth of a small club. But I thought about that when I was listening to it. I said, I finally get it, what that means, man. It really captures the warmth of a small club, and just the togetherness of the band. It was great. David's toured and recorded with John Mellencamp on 3 records, Joe Ely, Storyville, the Allman Brothers Band, the Dixie Chicks, Chris Isaac, Robin Ford, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, Ringo Starr, Buddy Guy, John Mayall, and others. He's also a very good songwriter, and his songs have been recorded by Trisha Yearwood, Leanne Womack, John Mayall, Shannon Kerfman, and Storyville, just to name a few. He's got his own PRS signature guitar, which is like every guitar player I've had on this show, and I've had 700 almost at this point, that has a PRS, owns David's guitar. So if you're in the market for a guitar, check out David's PRS. And he also has 2 PRS signature amps. This is his 5th solo record and his first all live record as well. David, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure, man. Always great to see you and talk to you, and especially after running into you at NAMM, being able to hook up in person. But it's great to be back with you.
Yeah, it's always funny to put it's funny in a good way. Like, the really nice thing about this, when I meet people in person, it's always like, you give each other a hug, or it's so nice to do that. It's not like, it's just like we haven't seen each other. We're old friends, haven't seen each other in a while. It's not like, oh, who are you? I kind of remember.
Yeah. And you were even nicer in person, which is like sometimes it's
tell
like
me that.
the other way around. It's like you meet somebody, it's like, oh wow, that guy. I was like, man, this dude's cool. I mean, we
Thank you, man.
But the other interview, the first interview, we talked for a long time, and you can kind of get to know someone if you have the right kind of conversation. In an hour and a half is a long time, and so I felt like I did know you when we ran into each other in the lobby there.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, now you heard all my dysfunctional stuff that we talked before the call. So now we're on level playing field.
Bonded on that one. Indeed.
Hey, man, love the new record. What made you put a new record out, and what was different about making a live record as opposed to studio recordings?
Well, the songs are twice as long, for one thing. I've been doing a residency at the Saxon Pub for 9 years now, and just at this point in my life, those gigs are pretty much the most fun I've had. I have at this point in my life, and I think have allowed me to sort of grow as a player in a way that the other things I've done certainly contributed to as well. But this band situation and this ability to go in there every week, and there were no rules, and an audience that was totally open to that happening and responded when, sometimes when you would really go for something, even if you didn't quite get there, they could pick up on that energy of you going for it. I was like, I just had this, I kind of woke up one morning, I'm like, why am I not recording these shows? And I also wanted to make a guitar record. My records in the past have been sort of half my singer-songwriter part of my personality, and then the other half of the instrumental guitar player part of my personality. And I just wanted to make a full electric guitar record. There's no overdubs, there's no acoustic guitars, there's, you know, only 2 vocal songs, and you know, like, there's only 8 songs, but it's almost an hour long.
Yeah, it's an hour of music. It's great, man.
So we recorded, the Saxon has a digital board, and the whole record was recorded onto the digital board with about a $7 flash drive, thumb drive stuck in it. No line check, no sound check. So it was mixing it was an interesting experience, but I had the luxury with the $7 flash drive of recording several nights, and the most time-consuming part of the process was to go listen to everything, to see, you know, what to pick the best performances. But that was a luxury, in that I really feel strongly about. I mean, I'm just really proud of every song, and felt like that captured something really good. That the thing that I'm always going for, which is when something happens that hasn't happened before, and it's equally divided amongst the musicians that are all up there. It's not like one guy's playing great and the other 3 are kind of just keeping up. This was a true 3-way conversation. And although I do play as a quartet sometimes, I only put trio. I only recorded the nights I was trio. I really just wanted to have that totally wide open palette. I think it's really great to have a rhythm player behind you at times, and to trade off solos. And, you know, if you're tired, it's a lot easier not to have to take all the solos. But this is just I just wanted to do it, and made it happen.
It's you can really feel your comfort in there. Like you feel like you're at home. I could tell that when you're playing. It sounds like that. You know, you're so relaxed, and it's just like you're in your zone there, man.
It is a home away from home, really. It's hard for me to even play anywhere else in Austin. This was because I'm so used to that room and the crowd, the people that come see. I mean, half the crowd every week are the same people.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. So like you've got music friends there, like that look forward to seeing you every Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's really, really heartwarming to see the same faces come back. And, you know, inevitably there's always some people from out of town that come through, which is nice. Like you know, to know that outside of Austin, there are people that are aware of what we're doing. And I don't know, man, we have, I mean, there's been in the 9 years, I can count on one hand the nights that I felt like were kind of like not really happening. And even then, I don't think the crowd minded. You know, it was still by my standard. It's been the track record has been. It's just really fulfilling.
That's awesome, man.
And it's the hardest part. The hardest part about the quarantine period we're in right now is missing that gig. It's undoubtedly the one time a week that, I mean, I knew I was going to miss it, and I have guarded that Tuesday night with my life, because if you give it up, there's about 100 bands in Austin that would take that slot in a heartbeat. I just can't. It's become so apparent to me as we're in 2 months into the thing or whatever more. It's a real spiritual thing. I mean, that gig for me, and to make that connection at that level it's meaningful. It's also kind of addictive. So, it's the interaction between the guys that I have a really great rapport with. I miss that. But that's another reason, like I had a lot of people say, man, don't put the record out now. You're not going to be able to tour it. I had to cancel a European tour. I don't tour the States that much, but when you put a record out, you go out and play some gigs, and I've missed all that. But I thought about postponing it, and I was like, no, man, it needs to come out now. I mean, people need to hear some live music, and I also felt like, I mean, I can take an acoustic guitar and play some songs for you, but it's not this.
Yeah, man.
You
Oh,
know,
look at you. You got it right there. Let me
I
see it.
got it right here. Yeah. And
Very cool, man.
um, yeah, it's my Economy with Dignity. I mixed it. I did the cover.
That's awesome, man.
I'm mailing them out personally,
You did the mastering. Was there mastering and mixing,
No,
or just?
I had it mastered, but I
Yeah,
mixed.
that's
I,
very cool.
I mixed it and then had it mastered.
Are you good with letting stuff go? Like, because when you're doing your own stuff, man, I could imagine that it's like your studio, your house. You know, you could be out there 2 a.m. Well, let me just tweak
No,
one
I'm
more.
not really good at letting it go. I'm a tweaker. Now, the one thing I am good, I have got confidence in the guy that masters my records. I know they're going to come back sounding better. And,
Yeah.
inevitably with my studio records, I always have a song or two. I'm like, could you, put some of the bottom end back on this song or whatever. This one came back and I'm like, perfect.
Yeah. Who mastered it?
Jim Wilson in Boulder, Colorado. And what happens with guitar records that if you're making a record out, this is a tip, this is a mastering tip from a guitar player, but people, mastering engineers and record companies are used to hearing records with a certain amount of width, which includes a lot of top end sometimes. And so that it can change your whole tone. And Jim knows that I don't want my guitar brighter, but I've also learned to mix in such a way that you've got to leave something for the mastering engineer to do. If you deliver it all bright and shiny and compressed and everything, there's really no point. He's just basically a volume. He's just turning it up, to CD level. So I've learned, I think, better to, if I don't want the guitar to get brighter, to leave something else brighter, so that the mastering engineer can't add too much top, because the hi-hat will get really out of control, or whatever that may be. And in this record, everything, we're so close together and we play really loud, everything was in every mic.
Right.
So it was like I couldn't get rid of the hi-hat. It was, the cymbals and the hi-hat were like, holy cow,
Always there.
Always there. So in retrospect, that may have helped the guitar tone.
Right.
In mastering, it's like it kept any too much extra top in from being added. And I just don't like my guitar tone. I mean, it's hard for me to deliver a record without getting the tone the way I want it. So if it's the way I want it when I deliver it, again, it's the top end that I can't stand. Too much top. I mean, I want fat, punchy,
thickness,
warm.
Yeah.
Not muddy, but warm.
But that's like your whole thing.
That's my thing.
Yeah. That's your whole thing. Your tone is just, know. You covered Albert King's Crosscut Saw there. Any reason why you picked that one to cover?
Well, I've been playing that song a long time, and I covered 3 blues songs on the record, and
I didn't know. What are the other 2 that you covered? What are the
"Don't Lose Your Cool" is an Albert Collins tune.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And "The Open" is Freddie King. And so
I did not know. I'm a huge Freddie King fan. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, in "The Open," it's one of his early instrumentals, and in "The Open" we've played, I think we maybe in 10 years or 9 years have played it 2 or 3 times.
What made you pull it out?
I just, I was just going through on one of the nights I recorded, we played it. And I just bring like, a 50 song sheet and call them as I feel them that night.
Oh, is that how you do?
Yeah. And I didn't want to put anything on the record that I'd recorded live before.
Okay.
And also, again, because of the bleed, the vocal tunes were really difficult to pull off. And so there was just too much. Everything was coming into the vocal mic.
Yeah.
And so to make the vocal sound halfway decent at all, to EQ it or compress it, it just brought everything else up. But Crosscut Saw and Never Came Easy to Me are both kind of, when the vocals are happening, the dynamic is fairly low. And so it was not an issue. I actually tried to redo the vocal on we got
Did
like
you really?
incredible performances on a couple of other songs that I really wanted to put on, but I just couldn't get the vocal to sound right. So I tried to re-sing the vocal, and it was just the bleed from the original track was in everything. So that was like off the table.
Oh, you couldn't. Yeah.
You
The
couldn't do
vocals came out really, the vocals are not taking over everything on any of the tracks, man.
No, they're just live.
Yeah,
They're live. I
yeah.
mean, they're live, and also I mixed in a lot of the room mics. They have room mics in there. I just really wanted you to feel like you were at a table, and you can hear people ordering drinks in a couple of quiet
Yeah, yeah. Well, just the whole thing, the way you open it up, it's like,
yeah.
it was really cool. It was nice to hear you doing that because I've not seen you live, so it was really nice to hear. I mean, you're a very humble cat, but you could just see, that's your audience.
You get a sense of what it's like to be at the gig. I mean, really, I really feel like that's what I wanted to do. If you can't make it to the saxophone, this is what it's like, and it really, this is what it's like on a good night. And so back to Crosscut Saw. I just I've been playing that song forever, and I just kind of landed on a little different way of approaching the song. And that song is it's public domain. It was originally written in the 30s.
Oh,
And
wow.
I forget who originally wrote it, but there's a copyrighted version of it that Albert King actually copyrighted his version, I believe. So I don't know the technicalities of it, but it is, it's listed as public domain.
That's great.
And, so this is sort of my version of it, the voicings of the chords. It's sort of like a rumba, his version is what I would call like a rumba, Latin-y kind of groove. And my version is sort of filtered through the lens of, I don't know, Daniel Lanois or something. I don't know. It just seemed like, if you're going to do a blues, something that I was going to play on a regular basis that was a blues standard, I wanted to do my own thing with it. And, I had 3 versions of that song that were really good.
To pick from.
And man, that was the hardest, maybe the hardest choice I made about which version to pick. And the one I picked, I think, was more the more adventurous of the 3, although the other 2 I was really happy with the other 2 as well. But the intro to that, and we never played it like that before, and we'll never play it like that again. And that's what I like people to I hope that people pick up on, is the spontaneity and the organic nature of the performances.
It's like I said, I finally captures the warmth of a small club. I mean, I didn't like research that, but then when I heard it, now I get it, because I always read that, in old magazines or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of tracks that I really enjoyed there. Lucy G, the opening, that is really showcasing your tone. I mean, that's David Grissom. It's a great upbeat tune to open a live set. What's the backstory to that particular track?
Well, with an instrumental, there's not the same kind of backstory as with a vocal tune, but a lot of instrumentals that I write come about by I'm not a real practicer. Like I was at one point in my life. I would practice specific things and take lessons and go through courses, and I had a progression to my learning, and I would, a teacher would say, this week we're going to do this song, and I would have the motivation to come back in and not embarrass myself. But these days I do practice some, but it's more, what I do is I try to play myself into something that I haven't done before. And whether it's a lyric or a lick or a riff or something that I think later would turn into a song, I mean, that's one thing that happens, but other things that have happened are certain techniques. And one of the things that I do a lot is I really use open strings in ways that I don't hear. I think, at least in my experience, ways that I hadn't heard done before. Now that we have the internet, and I'm exposed to more players, I realize that other people do it too. But I still think that sort of my approach is a little unique in regards to certain things that I do. But Lucy G, it's in C sharp minor, and so I was really I love keys. You don't think of C sharp minor, which is, you know, C sharp Dorian, but you're really in B major. Or it depends on how you want to think. You can think of it really. You could think of playing an E or B major. It depends on how you want to think about it. But the open B string is the flat 7 in C sharp, and so I started just like being enthralled, because I mean, in the past, when I'd used the open string as a pedal tone, where I'd played things below that pedal tone or above it, it would be, you know, the root of the key or the fifth, for the most part. And so here,
not the flat 7.
The flat 7 is the you know, and this is on my first record, so this is 08, 07 that I wrote the song, and the song came about from sort of landing one night, you know, in one of those extended, I want to see what I can play myself into. And once I kind of my ear started to fall in love with the sound of that flat 7 as a drone string, the song kind of just fell in my lap.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there like a Lucy G, like a real Lucy G?
No, there's not a real Lucy G
that you could talk about.
Titling my
it's hard titling instrumentals, I'm sure.
There are instrumentals that have a story to the title, but that one really doesn't. It's just kind of loosey goosey, you know.
Okay.
It has a real. It's just got kind of an irreverent swagger about it that I was trying to capture.
See, that's clever though, man. That's why, like it. Instead of Loosey Goosey, which wouldn't have been like a great song name, you changed it to Lucy, the spelling of the name. Gee, that's
which is my grandmother's name.
Oh, that's cool, man.
My mother's mother was named Lucy, so I don't know. It's just where these things come from. I don't know.
And then Squawk. That's a really cool long jam. And you said this is a guitar record. It is. The song is somewhat Jeff Beck like. It's open jam. I was just curious, is that like just an open jam, or was there a story that goes along with that central melody?
No story at all. I just, you know, again, a riff that I came up with. And so it's one thing to come up with a cool riff. It's another thing to make a song out of it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to write a good instrumental. You know, in some ways you don't have lyrics. You know, people would say, oh, well, you don't have to write lyrics. Well, you don't, but you don't have lyrics to tell a story with. So to write an instrumental that is compelling.
Yes.
So, you know, I came up with the main riff, and then you go from there. And does it need, you know, where do I go for a B section? Does it need a bridge? When the solo comes around, am I going to solo over the whole form? In that case, it doesn't go through the whole form. There's a slightly different form for the solos. And it's just, man, to me, it's just real blue. It's just like, you know, that sort of dead thumb blues thing.
You did a lot of pyrotechnic. Your guitar is, you know, you're ripping it on that song, man. That was a very good guitar song, man.
I think every song in it ends up being a guitar song by the time it's over. But I do you know, with the length of the songs, I really, and I got this from Joe Ely, working with him, just the whole idea of dynamics and giving things room to grow and a place to go. And if you come out of the gate on, you know, with everything you got right off the bat, there's really not a lot of room to go. There's not a lot of other places to go unless it's a really short solo. But here we're talking about, you know, really extended improvising. And the challenge for me in the skill that I've developed over the years has nothing to do with physical practice, is to be able to wipe the slate completely clean about I almost visualize a whiteboard up here, and that I can just take a big eraser, and I have no preconceived notion about what I'm going to play until I literally play the first note of a solo.
That's a skill set, man.
Yeah, and it's because we all want to have a place to start. We want to practice things that we know are going to work. And there's a time for that. But on Tuesday nights, I give myself permission to not, if I, and really the worse, the more tired I am, the worse I feel, the more determined I am to sometimes those are the best, because you're just like, all right, I absolutely could, I don't give a shit whether this works or not. But
Right
I am going to see how weird I can get, and not like, and still have respect for the people that are there.
And for the melody and for the song.
And play the song, but to week after week after week to do that on some of the same songs and to go different places. But if you listen to the 3 versions of Crosscut Saw, you'd go like, just listen to the intro before the vocals come in, and it's like, it starts with the same little guitar idea, but where it goes after that is completely different.
That's very cool, man. Very cool. What are your favorite songs on the record, if you have any?
I'm looking at the cover. I like them all. I really, I like Lucy G, because I think I can remember when I landed on that sort of idea of the flat 7 as a drone string, which I hear people doing now occasionally, but I'm not taking credit for it. But
we should. This is David started that right after he started the internet. No, I'm just kidding.
How could you possibly even prove that in my ego? I may have an ego with it in that big.
I know.
So I that's kind of cool. Way Jose is kind of this Latin blues thing that is so fun to play over. And Boots likes to, let's see, it Never Came Easy to Me. I'm really proud of that song, lyrically. And
it's a nice long song.
It's a long song, and it, I lyric from a lyrical standpoint, I really like the song a lot. And there's having put out 4 other records, I can go back and tell you songs that I would not write today, but that's one I think I'll always play. I like the whole record, man. I'm
awesome.
Unequivocally, I'm proud of this one. I think I actually got it right.
I think you did too. We could change this into a political commercial. I'm David Grissom, and I endorse this record.
Well, it's hard to pick out a favorite song. I wish I'd written Crosscut Saw. That would be my favorite song if I had written,
Yeah, right on.
And I like the performance-wise, I think that one in really came off great, and mainly because of Chris Marsh on bass and Brian Austin on drums that played on that song. It's a 3-way conversation, and those guys can play rings. They can play music that I cannot play, and they have an incredibly wide vocabulary. And
are those your regular guys?
Brian, the drummer, has played 90% of the gigs over the 9-year period. Chris Marish and Glenn Fukunaga are on this record. And so those 2 guys, and then Scott Nelson, who was on the road with Kenny Wayne Shepherd when I was recording this, did not play on this record, but they have a bit of a rotating bass chair. And it's really cool because they all bring their own thing. And one thing, a big part of being a band leader is to sort of honor each, letting go.
Yeah.
Not it's an acquired skill. And when we first put the band together, I don't think I had this skill, but I've learned to really just kind of say, man, play whatever you feel and embrace it. And it can be totally different than the way the song was recorded or the way we did it last week. And I'm like, cool.
But that's why you said the gig pushes you.
It does.
Yeah, for that reason.
Because,
Glenn Fukunaga, didn't he play with like Robert Plant or something at one time?
well, we both played one gig with Robert.
Oh, both of you guys?
Yeah, we were both played a gig with Robert, and then I think he played a gig with him after that as well. But I've known him since I've been in Austin, and he's also, I think he plays with the Dixie Chicks now, and he has done shows with Sean Colvin, and he's great,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hey man, what do you anything you're looking forward to doing besides getting back to your gig at the Saxon after COVID-19, musically or otherwise?
Just want to be around people. I want to play with other people. I want to, music is a conversation just like we're having right now, and so I just want to engage,
Yeah.
and not have the Zoom glitch or the connection dropping in and out. I like to hug people. I want to hug people. I want to shake hands. I want to feel the exchange of energy back and forth between human beings, and on a literal conversation level, but at the gig and in the studio both. There's something that happens that makes music so much a part of my being when you really do connect. And so that to have that element of my life sort of on hold is a challenge. And luckily I've been busy in my home studio. People have been I've been working on a lot of records, and that's sort of my saving grace. But there's a day here and there where I'm like, man, how long is this going to go on?
Yeah.
And it's painful, man. It's painful to, I'm really lucky that I got work coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really, really, really lucky. And I mean, it could end tomorrow. I don't know, but it's still not it's not the same as, when you're canceling European tours and I got dates with Rodney Crowell that are all getting canceled, and you're seeing your friends that rely just on live gigs, what they're going through. It's painful, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's like something that it just happened. Like one day we were all just taking everything for granted and cruising along, and then it was just seemed like it just happened. There was like a little bit of a buildup, but you have no idea what could really happen. And then it was like, I started talking to my friends. I went to Milan twice last year, once to make a record and to tour in the Milan area, which is where it really hit first in Italy. Yeah. So I was talking to my friends over there, and they were like, man, it's really, really bad. And the information we were getting here was not that forthcoming. And in all fairness, it hadn't hit here yet. So, but I was, a couple of weeks out before it got here. There were some of my friends over there were really like in distress, like legitimately, not like this is a drag, but like my mother died and I couldn't say goodbye to her, and the bodies are stacked up down at the mortuary on the corner. I mean, so I had a sense that, it could get bad here, but you never think it's really going to get, for some reason. I mean, I just never thought anything like this would ever happen.
There's no frame of reference. There's no way. It's funny you said that. I miss hugging my sons, man. They don't, my kids are older, and I can't wait. I've seen each of them separately, but like I said, as soon as this opens up, you guys are coming over here for a barbecue. I just want to hug them and just sit. I'm lucky that they're older, but we still have that.
Yeah, you're right. But I feel you. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have friends with grandchildren, and they miss their grandkids so much. There's some, like they have children that have had children during this, and they haven't been able to go.
Oh, that's got to be terrible.
Grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let me, I had a question here, of course. Are you touring to support it? I know obviously you're not. Once this opens up, if the opportunity exists, will you be doing some shows?
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing some shows.
Awesome.
I don't know what that looks like right now.
Sure.
Um, I really want to get back to Europe. I mean, that's it seems like, you know, the towns are closer together there, and I just from an economically, it's
Oh,
more
it's
feasible for me to go to Europe, and there's a lot, you know, I have a lot of people that come to the gigs there, and I really enjoy that. I love touring the States. I mean, but you know, in Texas, we're so far apart, and it costs so much money to go on the road. Um, you know, I don't want to go lose money.
yeah. No,
You know,
everybody says the same thing.
I'm willing to go out and break even to just to play, and,
Yeah.
and to you know, meet people other places and have new experiences. But man, I
Right.
can't go out and lose money.
No, that's not why people are in business. You can't. It's not possible to run a business losing money. Newsflash.
Yeah.
Except apparently the government, but that's a separate.
I really hope the post office doesn't close, because that's all I've got right now. God bless the post office. It's all.
Hey, I want to tell people where they can get the record and what you got going on. So go to davidgrissom.com. David spells his last name Grissom, just in case you're not hip. And he has some very cool deals on his website where you can get some bundled products of his at a really reasonable price. And I really love you to support David's music. He's a super cool guy. He's a very talented musician. As I said, I'm going to put his first interview right after this, so stick around. Also, he's got a YouTube channel. I would love you to go there and subscribe to it. He's putting up he's getting ready. He's got some stuff up there, but he's getting ready to make a whole series of videos. Some of that with information about the background and how he put the album together. Also, you could find him and follow him on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, it's David Grissom Music Page, and Instagram, is it just David Grissom Official?
David Grissom Guitar.
David Grissom Guitar. If you want to work with David, there's a few capacities you can do that in. First of all, the guy's legit busy as hell. But if you are interested in working with him as far as having him work on tracks for you, he's the right guy. I mean, he's played with tons of professional people, and he's been doing this a long time, and he knows what he's doing in the studio. Also, if you are interested in lessons, he doesn't have tons of slots, but here's the people that would work best. First of all, if you're a fan of his playing, you got to be an intermediate player. And if you're interested in working with him, I mean, there's a lot of things he could do with you, but like learning his chord voicings, which, as he talked to you about, are kind of unusual and unique to him. You learn his style of playing, or you want to have him help you jumpstart your own playing, or just to talk about, how do you get work as a sideman in 2020? How do you break into doing sessions? What's the right way, and more importantly, maybe the wrong way to do that? And is there a tab on your website for them to contact you?
If you hit contact on my website, it comes straight to me, and
Great.
I'm pretty quick about getting back. And I mean, I don't know how long we're going to be in this situation, but I have got the kitchen sink here to get records with, and I've done in the past week, I've done tracks for someone from New Zealand. I did a track for Damian Marley. I did a track for a country band called Midland, and so there are people that don't play full time that I work on their records, and I'm sometimes those are the most fun things. So I don't want to discourage I want to encourage anyone. You're not, if you'd like to have me hopefully play some stuff that would surprise you and elevate maybe what you have going, especially if you're not a full-time artist, I'm happy to do that too. And I love making records, and so I can do that. I do that all day long. And as far as the teaching thing, that's a really limited amount of time that I want to do that, because the sessions are keeping me super busy. But either way, I'm happy to help.
Right on, man. And also, if you're going to email him, just make sure you give him some like if you wanted to work on tracks, just give him some description of what's going on and what
Yeah.
prompted you to call to contact him, so he could at least make it a decision to how to respond to your email. What else? I think, is there anything else?
The main thing for me is just this new record. You can download it at Bandcamp, iTunes. I've got physical copies that I'm happy to sign. You have the option of an unsigned copy too.
Get it signed, man.
And I'm mailing them out. No extra charge for the signature. I have T-shirts for the first time ever. They're on my website. So I'm gonna bundle all my physical product and put that up. I'm just trying to, we're all trying to figure this out, man. We're having to reinvent how we do things. And there's always opportunity out there somewhere. There's always a silver lining. And so.
Yeah, we just don't know what it is yet.
I'm a believer in the silver lining.
I am too. I have this saying, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You never know what that is until afterwards. Yeah. So we'll figure it out. Anyway, man, everybody just check out David's new record. It's called Trio Live, and it's a great record. And support David's music at davidgrissom.com and YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook. Everybody, and thank you, man. Thanks for your time. It's always good connecting with you. I appreciate it.
It's nice to see you, Craig.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, I'm going to put David's first interview right following here if you're listening to the audio. Thanks very much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to David Grissom for coming on the show again. He's a super cool dude. And most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness really is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. David, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks.